let's go down, though, to the Red River Rivalry. You mentioned it at the very beginning of the show at the top. It was a game I know you were watching intensely. Number 6 Oklahoma versus unranked Texas. Did not think I would be saying that multiple weeks ago. Down in Dallas, ends up being Oklahoma's 6th loss against an unranked team as an AP Top 10 team since 2019. How did this one go the way it did? Can you break this one down for me?
This one was really simple. This game was won in the trenches, offensively, defensively, and on the ground game. And if you would have told me after watching last week's Florida game that Texas offensive line would be one of the reasons they won the game, I would have looked at you shockingly. If you would have told me Texas defensive line was one of the reasons they won the game, I would have also looked at you shockingly. Last year, who knows? I'm not saying they watched what I said about them last week, right? The odds of that are slim to none. But what I said about them last week is exactly what flipped this week. Everything that Texas needed to address, they addressed it. And for the Oklahoma, you remember me saying this on the podcast, I think is our very first one or second one when I was talking about Michigan versus Oklahoma. I said if Oklahoma cannot establish a run game identity, they will struggle in the SEC. Excuse me. And I think that was evidential. They don't have a running identity, so they only rushed for 1.6 yards per rush. That is horrendous, right? That looks like what Texas did last week without at Florida and why they lost that game. Texas averaged 3.9 yards per rush and rushed for 136 yards. If you can win the running battle, you can win the turnover battle. You can win in the trenches. It's going to be damn hard to lose that game. And Texas did all 3 of those things. And they just had John Mateer in disarray. John Mateer he even said in his postgame, he said he was 100% physically fine. He felt great. But he said mentally, he clearly wasn't ready because he was not ready to step into that rivalry. And that's one of those environments that we talked about when you're talking about Oklahoma. John Mateer's never seen these types of environments, right? Like the only environment he's seen is a sold out Gaylord Memorial Stadium, and that's a great place, but that's also your home field. So when you got put in that Red River Rivalry mindset, a guy like Arch Manning, who sat behind Quinn Ewers and experienced that rivalry multiple times, knows what that rivalry means, and they showed out. I think Arch Manning played a much improved game. Texas made a shift at O-line. I want to say they benched Connor Stroh for a freshman in Brooks. That shift in O-line was needed, right? Last week, that offensive line looked horrible at Florida, and this week it stepped up against an Oklahoma front that everybody raves and craves about how it's one of the best fronts in college football, and that Texas offensive line just quite frankly, did not care about what they had to say about Oklahoma and ran it up their gut, continued to run the football even when there was lack of success early on. Steve Sarkisian stuck to the run game, his guns, and he kept running the ball well. I thought this was a much-needed win for Texas, but it like I said after that Florida loss, that going to the Swamp and winning is not an easy thing to do. Right? Like people don't realize that's a hard environment for Arch, and that's his second true road start. I guess he had Ohio State too, but first SEC road start. I think this was a get on track back where play the ball type of ball Texas wants to play. Their players need to get healthy. They need CJ Baxter back, and they need Wisner at 100% completely. But if they can stay healthy, this Texas team can make some noise. And this is not season's over for Oklahoma. Don't throw the all your eggs in one basket and oh no, the season's over. But if that running game can't get going, it might be season over for Oklahoma, just because you have to have a running game that is above average and consistent in the SEC play to win SEC ball games.
Yeah, totally with you. And I'm going to second your point there on Texas's game plan, because I think that's what won them the game, right? Something needed to change on the offensive line. And I thought, I didn't think they were fantastic. I thought they were just solid enough to win, and that's all that they really needed to do. They let Arch Manning, I think, get the ball out quick, which seemed to be part of the game plan too, because that's what got the offense going. Defensively, Texas's defensive line was huge. 5 sacks. Collin Simmons, a name to remember, fantastic edge rusher. I think you saw the best Texas defensive line that we've seen in a couple of weeks. And the O-line too. Oklahoma's defensive line is as good as you can probably see in college football, as is what we thought coming into this game. But I thought they were effective. Texas outscored Oklahoma 20-0 in the second half. That's the team's best second half differential in conference play since joining the SEC. So a monumental one for Texas, certainly a good one for momentum and for Arch Manning to get experience in such a big rivalry game. I think that was very, very good for them going deeper into SEC play. For Oklahoma, I thought they just kind of looked like a different ball club. Like they didn't score a touchdown. John Mateer playing just 17 days, I think, after surgery. I think he looked uncharacteristic. He didn't look like the John Mateer we saw in the first couple of weeks of the year. it looked it, in my opinion. I know he said he was 100% physically healthy, but I don't know that he really looked it. And going 20 for 38, 202 yards and 3 picks, I think is a doozy. But I also think it was Texas's defense that caused a lot of that. I'm not giving Oklahoma an excuse by any means, and I think Mateer was the better option at quarterback versus Hawkins if you were going to go there. But just an uncharacteristic performance, I thought, from Oklahoma. And for the Sooners, the schedule gets no easier. At South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri at home, LSU at home. That's their next from now until the end of the year, that's their schedule. So it's not going to be easy by any capacity, but I think Oklahoma, stay confident, and maybe you can make something shake in those last couple weeks. But a big statement win for Texas. Any more on this one?
Yeah, big win for Texas. And like you said, Oklahoma's schedule is not going to get any easier. For Texas, on the bright side, I think their schedule does get a little bit easier in terms of what they still have left on record. But I just impressed by Texas, more disappointed by OU. I was really kind of wondering where that brand of football was that we had seen. But clearly that's just more credit to Texas. Texas out-schemed them, and Steve Sarkisian out-coached Brent Venables. I think that was pretty apparent and obvious, like he has done 3 out of the 4 times they've played. So maybe that's a little worrisome. Oklahoma's not used to losing the Red River this often, okay? I don't know about you, but if you remember, it's a rarity when something like this happens, but not in the Red River. Anybody can always win the Red River, so I know that Oklahoma fans want Brent Venables to figure out a way to start winning that ball game a little bit more often. But shout out Texas. They played really inspired football, and they played like they were tired of getting hurt of all this Texas team soft, because they did look soft against Florida, but this team did not play soft. They played physical, fast football against Oklahoma, and that's what won them the ball game. And shout out their O-line and D-line, man. That O-line, that O-line looked really, really bad against Florida. I don't know if you remember watching the game, but it looked like there was no O-line. And if you give, I think the biggest takeaway for this should be Texas fans, if you give Arch Manning a little bit of time to actually throw the football, he can make a good read. He knows how to play football. He knows how to throw the football. And I liked how they, had designated rollout pockets and Arch using his legs. But if you give Arch Manning time, he can make the right read. But the problem is he hasn't had much time because that offensive line has not lived up to what it needs to be.
Yeah, 23-6 final in the Red River. Professional looking performance from Arch Manning, the first we've seen of him, I think, this year. Probably his best game this year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. It was probably his best game against level of competition. I would say that probably was his best game that he's played in a Texas uniform.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When you're playing the nobodies, and you can whoop up on them as much as you would like. But yeah, good win for Texas. Looking forward to SEC play for both of those programs as they look to figure it out week by week.